it's all going to pot, or whether we like it or not. Best I can tell, the world's gone to hell, and we're sure gonna miss it a lot. All of the whiskey in Lynchburg, Tennessee just couldn't hit the spot.
Hi, Lauren here, This Week in Weed TV. There's been obviously a lot of chatter amongst the folks in the community, the media, and the rest of it in terms of Australia re-announcing that cannabis is going to be easier to access. Deja vu all over again? Yes, we heard it from the previous health minister. We've heard it from this health minister. Let me put it in a bit of context for you, looking at some of the key points. Here we go. Hope you enjoy. Take care. Okay, folks, so let's kind of dig into this. The thing to bear in mind is when we have things that come out in the media that say, oh, cannabis is now going to be easier to get a hold of, oil is going to be imported, and the rest of it, you've got to scratch below the surface to see what you're actually talking about. Let's take a real quick look at the top 8 reasons why things are not quite as they seem. Since 2014, multiple laws, bills, and acts have been introduced into Australia on cannabis. None good, none resulting in a single person getting cannabis in Australia for medical use. There was a case in Queensland that they did, but that was forced, not per the suggested processes. The government considered it a loophole. That loophole has now been filled and is being correctly challenged, as well as perhaps other things coming down the pipe. That's the first one. The second one is you cannot ignore that the largest source of revenue for law enforcement pretty much in Australia is saliva testing for cannabis. How many cases can you have a situation where you're not even guilty of something but actually charged? The situation in this case is that they force guilt based on whether or not you have THC potentially in your system, nothing to do with impairment. This is immoral in my opinion. That actual test is not legal anywhere else in the world as far as I'm aware. They normally use it, if they use it at all, or if they're trialing it and testing it as they are in other bits of the world at the moment, as part of a test for impairment, not as a test to see how long cannabis can stay in your system when you actually haven't been exposed to it for days, hours, potentially weeks or months. There are views that can be that longer if you're a big person, because it views that some of the THC can stick to fat molecules, and if you get more fat in your body, then you can test longer as being having THC in your system when you haven't been exposed to it for a longer period of time. It's been tested already up in New South Wales, and is an immoral thing, and that cannot be ignored when they're looking at how they're going to make medical cannabis available, because they've got to address that. Not only would the test be immoral, but it would actually be illegal. So they have to address it one way or the other. The other thing to bear in mind, quite simply, sound bites from mainstream media are wrong. They're fake. Most of the time they're due to not fact-checking or verifying information, and if they do verify information, they'll verify it from somebody that's, say, in the Australian Medical Association. So if you have something come out from government, something to do with medical, then they get a AMA person that's not allowed to deviate from AMA strategy, so they're not going to come out against the government or against themselves. So obviously that information is going to be fact-checked by others that are going to verify the fake facts. Keep in mind that nobody wants us to get a hold of cannabis with THC in Australia. So if the media is not going to tell us the truth, what do? Well, you've got to look at the bills. Number 4 on this is facts are not only what are in bills and acts, not commentary, not spoken word, not by media, not by government, not by sound bites. So it doesn't matter what they say. The proof, as they say, is in the pudding, and the facts and the bills and the words 99% of the time from what media has been saying don't actually match the facts. And this is why we have all this confusion, not to mention that the media has helped to make this even worse. Last few of these. In 2016, in multiple bills, Australia redefined the word cannabis. This typifies the whole thing. They redefined cannabis from a plant to a suite of products that include GMO, that's genetically modified organisms, pharmaceuticals, industrial hemp, CBD, synthetics, and even including fentanyl, which is a synthetic opioid that's 100 times more potent than morphine, and the Prince singer died from it as an overdose in 2016. So had Prince lived in Australia, technically, based on the new laws and the new bills that are written, is that you could have been reported as dying from a cannabis overdose in 2016, as messed up as the definitions are in these documents. Number 6, the last 3 here. Trials for what government calls medical cannabis include new untested pharmaceuticals. Some have not even been on the market yet. Some haven't been on the market very long. And we've actually seen serious adverse effects on a lot of these new pharmaceuticals. So quite often when the government says we're doing these trials and these tests and these trials and these tests, supposed to make everybody happy about it, there is no path for them to actually have legal medical cannabis. There has to be a path in the written word that's legislated for providing it. It doesn't exist in Australia. Number 7 of 8, the pharmaceutical industry reports that 90% of the over-the-counter drugs and prescriptions are for pain medicines. Listen to that again. 90% of over-the-counter drugs and prescriptions are for pain medicines. So of the 200 million that have legal access to medical cannabis, not surprisingly, those doctors in multiple countries report the same. 90% of the people using cannabis for medical use, 90% are using it for pain management. They're able to tease that out further and saying of that 90%, 2/3 of them, 66% of those people using medicine for pain management is for arthritic pain specifically. So there's your market. Do you think the pharmaceutical industry that's part of government in Australia is going to give up on 90% of their revenue by letting cannabis be legalized without a fight and lobbying that we're seeing already? And even worse if it gets even closer? Of course we are. You've not seen a government has had pharmaceutical industry more embedded than we are currently in Australia. And the last of these, which isn't irrelevant, is that we have a prime minister who's the richest in Australian history. The actual second richest parliamentarian of all times is actually married to a CEO of a biotech pharmaceutical company. A challenge? How relevant? Let you decide. That's it, folks. So the point of this is when we see anything in the media, anything in the press about the federal government's going to make things easier based on these announcements, the announcements are not worth the words that are spoke, and they're not worth the words that are written in the media because they don't fact check. And there you go. Just a bit of an input into that, what's going on. I hope that helps a little bit. Speak to you soon. If you want more information, look at the last slide. Keep in mind, This Week in Weed TV has all the bills, all the details, with a view of being able to get some more of the facts of what's going on. Thanks for your time.
Well, now it's all going to pot, or whether we like it or not. Best I can